Hello, my name is Beck and welcome to a reacting to my previous book haul. I thought I would look back at a book haul that I did about 5 months ago, so the very beginning of 2022, and see if I've actually read anything, unhauled anything, if anything on it is still on my TBR yet. I like to keep track of what I'm hauling and what I'm reading because a few years ago I had over 200 unread books and now I've got about 20 or so unread books. So I'm trying to keep myself accountable to make sure I don't go nuts. Because I have been committing to reading series and I haven't got the new books in those series. So in terms of my TBR shelf that is unread owned books, I'm doing all right and just buying series as I go instead of in whole chunks. But we'll see how I fare after watching this book haul. I might not have read anything on this list, so let's go. Hello, my name is Beck and welcome to a massive book haul. I did not hold back. I have a massive stack of books here to go through. I don't know the synopses for very many of them, so I will link all the Goodreads stuff down below. And future Beck is going to hate me because now I've promised that in a video. So without further ado, let's get into everything that I've hauled. In no particular order, I might just reach for the ones that I feel like I've talked about before. So the first one is Furies of Calderon by Jim Butcher. This is the same guy that wrote Harry Dresden or the Dresden Files. I ended up reading the first 160 pages of this and I've unhauled it because I just didn't like it. So at least I started it or tried it and now it's not on my shelf anymore. Also, if I talk about any of these books and I have content for them below, I will link it in the description. I've also got the next book in the Witcher series. I've done a spoiler-free review and like a how to start the Witcher video here, but then I also have the second book in the series and that is Time of Contempt. Obviously, I like Geralt, I like the world building, I like how this has like classic fantasy stuff in it of elves and dwarves and stuff and monsters that people fight, and I like the themes of otherness, which is like I reject these people's kinds of identities and cultures because they don't relate to mine. So are humans the actual monsters and are the monsters just trying to live their lives? I like the themes this plays with and I do still like the themes that it plays with, but ultimately I ended up reading the third book. I think it was the one before Baptism of Fire. So I either read Time of Contempt and then stopped reading Baptism of Fire, or there was one in between that I can't remember because I've unhauled those books. Because when it came to a particular book, there was a rape or sexual assault in it, and I've been told that it only gets worse with the female characters across the rest of these books. And I was hoping that The Witcher wouldn't do that, but when I saw the first couple of books and how women were portrayed as hysterical when they got emotional, I was like, oh, this could go downhill fast, and it did. Because the sexual assault that I read about was reinforced as a good thing of character development instead of being horrifically what it was and manipulative and dangerous and horrible. So I'm like, I don't want to read more about that. So I got rid of them. Another one that I've talked about is Magic Bites by Elona Andrews. I know that this has supernatural creatures in it again, but like the Dresden Files, not Furies of Calderon, this is a urban fantasy, so it's set I think in the US. And I have the sequel that I just held up. I did read Magic Bites, but I just haven't got to the sequel yet. So that is on my to-do list. Given that they're short urban fantasy and they read quite quickly, I'm keen to get to it this year because I'm liking this. It had enough in it to hook me in the first book, and so I'm eager to continue, but I just didn't get to it because I've put it on a couple of TBRs now, and while I create a monthly TBR, that's kind of like a guideline rather than a steadfast structure. So it gives me options and a drive to pick things, but I also like mood reading, so it doesn't always happen with all of the books I choose. So this just kind of fell off the radar for me, but I definitely have it on my shelf within my sight so I don't forget about it completely, and I'm eager to keep going with the series. So as far as this video goes, a bit of shame because it's still on my TBR. And then yet another series that I would like to continue is The Expanse. So I finished Caliban's War at the end of 2021 and I put that book off the entire year. And then I figured, you know what? I really enjoyed that book. I don't know why I put it off for so long. So I got book 3, which is, funnily enough, on my July 2022 TBR. Because like previous Beck, I've been putting this off the whole year. Why? I get it, it's long, but I could do it. I've done it with the first 2 books in the series. Why can't I do it again? If I'm going to be like this with the whole series, this is just such an unnecessary struggle. But anyway, I'm looking forward to reading this. It's a massive sci-fi series and it's got such detail to it, and a virus set in space, and so many multiple colonies and characters interweaving politics. It's so good. Why am I stopping myself from reading this? So it's probably actually the next thing that I want to pick up. So in terms of this TBR that I've created with a previous book haul, it's actually not that bad because I'm reading this very, very shortly. Literally this month, so I don't know how much more shortly I can get. The next one is a recent haul, and that is another sci-fi book, and it's The City of Stairs by Robert Jackson Bennett. This was recommended to me, or suggested that I at least buy it, by my partner, and he saw it recommended on Reddit on a sci-fi thread, so it must be good, right? It was on Reddit. I don't know. I have it on my shelf and I've not touched it, but it's one of those books that I was mentally cataloging as the end of 2022 if I got to it. I'm not in a huge rush, so if I get to it early next year, that's fine. I've started separating books on my shelf with I'm reading it in 2022 and I'm reading it in 2023, and City of Stairs falls in the 2023 basket. So I'm not too stressed about that one. And then I was really lucky to be gifted some amazing books for Christmas. One of them I got from Marie, so I'll link her blog down below, go and check her out. And that book is Get a Life, Chloe Brown. And then I was gifted the sequel for Christmas because I put both of these on 2 separate wish lists and they really came through. I did read these. These have become some of my new favorites of the entire year. I also got the 3rd book in this Brown Sisters trilogy. Loved all of them, so would highly recommend. But back on brand with the fantasy, I've got like a pirate ship kind of fantasy, and that is The Bone Ships. I don't know anything about this one either. I do know more about it now because I read the first 260 pages or 300 pages or something, and I ended up DNFing this. So it's about a boy whose father is murdered at sea and also this pirate princess, and she is kind of going for this rebellion of this whole pirate society, and these pirates are very traditional and they build all of their pirate ships out of the bones of dragons. And then this boy who has a crew, his crew hates him because he's very down and out, like he basically wants to die, like he's very depressed, he drinks all the time and he uses alcohol to self-medicate. And so this rebel princess comes in to help him kind of take hold again of his crew. But the politics and the world building could have been interesting, but to me it just kind of coasted the whole way through, and it didn't go up and down, like it just didn't, I didn't care about any of the characters, and it could have had a lot of potential, but I just didn't like it, so I ended up unhauling that. So, you know, at least I tried it and I thought I'd love it, which is pretty disappointing, but it's not on my shelf anymore, so at least it's not taking up my TBR space. And then I entered a contest randomly on Facebook, and I was lucky enough to actually win, and I don't usually win things. And then embarrassingly and kind of hilariously, one of the prizes was Psytonic by Brandon Sanderson. It's the 3rd book in his Skyward series. I have a whole bunch of Skyward content. I'll just link my Sanderson playlist in the description, but I won a copy of Psytonic, but then I also bought a copy of Psytonic at a local bookstore. And then I also realized that I had pre-ordered Psytonic. So I have 3 copies of Psytonic, embarrassingly and hilariously. I've since read Psytonic and I gave it a 3 stars. It was good, but not as good as the first book in the series. The series for me has gone down in stakes with each book, even though the world has kind of expanded in terms of understanding it and the magic. It's just gone downhill in terms of the storytelling and the characters for me, because Spencer is just, anyway, I don't want to get into it here. I've got spoilers and stuff in a different video, so I'll go and link all my Sanderson stuff for Psytonic down below. I have read it, but I'm not loving it, and I want to read the last book and then just be done with the series. One of the other books that I won is a massive science fiction book, but it's a sequel, and so unfortunately I haven't looked anything about this up. Still, unfortunately, I haven't looked anything about it up. I really don't think I'm going to read this because I just can't be bothered. I'm very lazy apparently when it comes to my TBR. Blind Space is a book that I've hidden away and it's not on my immediate radar, so I've definitely forgot about it. I can't even remember if I added it to my actual Goodreads TBR. That's how much I don't care. So I might just end up quietly unhauling it in the future. And if I come across the first book in the series somewhat later or like years down the track, maybe I'll decide to read it, but I don't know. It doesn't really hold any interest for me, to be honest. And then the last book out of the stack that I won on Facebook is Winter's Orbit, and I've since seen this pop up a few times on Instagram when it wasn't really on my radar before. I've also since seen a review for it on Marie's blog, and she was like, it doesn't center the romance, it centers a whole bunch of other stuff. And I would go into a book like this for the romance, even though it does feature in there somewhat. It's not like the driving force of a story. So honestly, that's kind of put me off. Like, I'd go into this expecting like a romance set in a sci-fi with politics going on around it, and that's not really the story that it's going for apparently. So I don't know whether to just unhaul this or actually read it, because it's also slow paced. And while that is gripping in its own way, I love a slow burn, but I've already set my expectations to I'm probably not going to enjoy it, so I'm not really sure about it. It's still on my TBR, I haven't got rid of it yet, but I am considering getting rid of it, which is never a good sign. And now the next 2 I've talked about definitely before. I may have included them on a book haul. If I have, I'm sorry, but I've got the Black Hawks here. I know I've talked about it in a video before. I don't know if it was just for like a to be read list or if it was actually a book haul. I've not read this one yet, but I really want to. So that is on my 2022 list. It is in the 2022 basket that I've got, not a literal basket, but like my mental segregation of 22 and 23. So I do aim to finish it this year, maybe in a readathon or maybe just to finish off or polish off the year, because it is a fantasy book, but it's not super duper long. So I think it's quite doable. So that is my goal. Haven't read it yet, still a bit of shame, but it will be a fleeting shame because I'll get to it this year. And then we have another sci-fi book, and that is A Memory Called Empire. I have briefly talked about this in the past as well, and I know that it follows an ambassador who goes to a new planet. That was really weird. YouTube flicked me away from my video, but I'll just go back to it in a second. This is the book that I was talking about, and I've been told not to expect a sci-fi necessarily, so I have no idea what to think going into this. So I think I've put it off because I'm a little bit scared of it. I haven't started it. So this and The City of Stairs, maybe I need to do like a sci-fi reading vlog or something, because I need to just start those. And Winter's Orbit, actually. Now I have 3 books for a vlog, so no pressure. And then I continued on the sci-fi bandwagon, and I got Foundation by Isaac Asimov. No, I got this, and then I realized that this guy actively sexually assaults women when he goes to science fiction conventions, and I was like, if that is how you treat women in real life, how have you actually written them in your work? So I got rid of it straight away. Didn't want to give that airtime at all. Okay, I have 6 more books to talk about. One of them is Daughter of the Deep by Rick Riordan. This is a new book by him in a new series separate from Percy Jackson. And unfortunately, I put this one down as well. I got this on audiobook as well to try and get through the stuff that I had accumulated earlier in the year. And this is one that I just couldn't get invested in because the characters seemed like they were moving very fleetingly. All of the situations were very changeable, and as soon as you got used to an environment, everything was changing and you had to get used to something else. So it just felt very uprooted, I suppose, and I just couldn't get into it. I gave it like 22% of the audiobook or something, and then I just put it down. I just didn't like the narrative style. I didn't care about the characters. I didn't connect to the narrative voice. So it's just not a book for me. Maybe I'm too old for it, but I did love Percy Jackson. So I don't know, it just didn't quite hit right for me. And then completely on a whim, I was in a bookstore like a month ago and I was like, you know what? I'm gonna buy Battle Mage. I don't know if it's good. I haven't looked up reviews. This could turn out terribly, but I hope that I like it. It seems to include elemental magic, and it has a couple of different perspectives on the back. I still don't know what this is about, but like Past Me said, it has a few perspectives. It includes elemental magic. The cover looks cool. Why not? I need to start this, but again, it's kind of on the fence between my 2022 and 2023 basket. It's sliding more into 2023 the more I think about it, but we'll see how my reading goes at the end of the year because I've literally just got out of a reading slump. So I feel like at the moment anything is possible, but then when I'm in a mood like this, I just lump all of my books on my current reading shelf and then I get overwhelmed and then I go back into a reading slump again. So I think I just need to put on the brakes, take it easy, read what I'm currently reading and see if I'm in the mood for it, because I would like to finish it this year, but I don't know how possible that's going to be. Next up is a graphic novel, actually 2 graphic novels, but they're not related in the slightest. This one I've seen so much hype for lately because it used to be a webcomic, and that is Law of Olympus Volume 1. Yes, I love this one. I gave it 5 stars. I did a reading vlog about it and I have pre-ordered the sequel Volume 2, and that's coming out in July. The second graphic novel that I mentioned is Dark One by Brandon Sanderson. Historically, in the past, I have not loved his graphic novels, even though Brandon Sanderson is one of my favourite authors, and that still stands. I'm putting this book off because I'm nervous about it, even though it's really not very long. I'm really worried that I'm not going to like it, and I have not very long now to finish it because we're in July, so I really need to get on board with doing that. Okay, we are finally down to the last 2 things on this book haul, and they are both hardcovers, which makes me happy because I don't often get hardcovers, but these were gifted to me for Christmas presents based on a wish list I had. So the first one is Cemetery Boys, and I know that this is told in like a contemporary setting. Yes, I read this one. As soon as I said hardcovers, I was like, I know what these are. Cemetery Boys was absolutely lovely. There's this whole discussion about queerness, about queer friendships, about support, and about family history and changing your expectations based on tradition. And I love that there was also kind of a romance in there between this boy that is a ghost and this main character is trying to solve his murder. So I just really liked it. I think I gave it 4 or 4.5 stars. It was really worthwhile. And I think this author also has a different book coming out called The Sunbearer Trials this year, which I need to get on and pre-order or buy depending on when this video comes out. I need to get it soon because it seems like a magical version or a fantasy version of what Cemetery Boys was, and I love Cemetery Boys, so definitely need to try out Sunbearer Trials. And then the last one I'm so excited about, and that is Black Sun. I've seen this literally everywhere and I don't know what it's about. I now know what it's about because I recently finished reading it and I gave it 4.5 stars. Not quite the 5, but still really up there. And it follows 3 main characters. One is Narampa, and she is a priestess and she is upholding all of these new religious values, but there's a lot of different factions in the city of Tova where she's based, and so there's a lot of pushback against what she's trying to do. But there's also a pirate captain named Ziala, and her beginning is in a jail cell hungover because she's been arrested and she gets given a crew and she has to transport this cargo to the city of Tova, and the cargo that she is given is Serapio, and at the beginning we open with him as a young boy, but there's a time skip and now we're in present day and he's older. So him as a young boy was converted into a cult when he was a child. So there is a lot of interesting political moving parts and history in here and magical ability, and I just loved it so much. So much so that I immediately finished this and then ordered the sequel because I know that came out this year, Fevered Star. So this has carried on my book haul effectively. I have read this and hauled it 5 months ago, but now I've gone on and bought another book because of it. So it's just a constant cycle, I suppose. But that is it for this video. If you have hauled anything lately, let me know if you are going to read it very soon. I would be interested to know. But thank you so much for watching this video. I'll come chat to you down below in the comments and I'll see you in my next one. Bye.